Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man.
That's good.
I'm glad to
Well,
be here.
glad to be a part of it. We have a lot of topics to get into today, as usual. And to start it off, Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs, they had a pretty tenuous just dealings with each other this past season, where we thought he would come back from the injury. Then they had the team meeting in March, the players meeting, and they were kind of wondering if the injury was actually legitimate, and wondering about when his return would be. And Tony Parker was saying that his injury that he suffered against Houston, the same one Kawhi Leonard suffered against Golden State, was 100% much more difficult, and he was able to come back the next season. And then now Adrian Wojnarowski, he reported this a couple days ago about Pop and Kawhi still haven't had a heart-to-heart conversation yet. And he visited San Antonio for the memorial of Popovich's wife, who passed away tragically a couple months ago. And they really haven't had that type of conversation yet. And Wojnarowski was saying that even if they have a good conversation, the 5-year 219 max, it just won't be handed out. Even though we know the value of Kawhi Leonard, it's not going to be handed out until they can tell that Kawhi is ready to integrate himself back in the system. And so with all of that and the kind of the unknowns about where the relationship is with Kawhi and the Spurs organization, how do you see that playing out?
To be honest, I still think he's going to leave. But it's certain circumstances that kind of play out for him to stay. I think if they go get a big time star, LeBron James, or just fix the relationship they have with the team. I know a lot of guys saying, like Jeff Green saying, okay, there's no bad blood against Leonard in the locker room, but you have Tony Parker, ex-teammates talking out to him. It's different things. They just have to rebuild that relationship that they once had and rekindle the fire that Popovich always holds when he's at the rings, being a head coach. But to be honest, I think he has to earn that. He has to be. He's eligible, but he has to earn. He has to be all NBA, and then be.
But isn't he eligible for it?
He's not, because he didn't meet the NBA criteria for it. He has this year. He has to either win MVP, be on the All NBA team, or win Defensive Player of the Year to be eligible to get that $219 million contract. But like you said, they said they're just not going to give it to him. They got to make sure if they get all this money to you, have to be committed to what the Spurs will want to do for the future. But at this moment, I don't think he fits there anymore. I think his game is evolving to a different level, and I think he should go. He should go elsewhere. I think trade. I know they kind of declined the Celtics trade back in February, and they probably decline more trades as well. But I think a trade is gonna happen sooner or later, because I don't think they'll reach an agreement for him to stay with San Antonio, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, it's the max extension. That's kind of the thing, but that could kind of be the caveat in it. But as you were saying, it seems like he may not be eligible for that, because there's some certain checkpoints he has to meet this upcoming season. That's kind of the thing that I think that would be the deal breaker if they reach that agreement. And we've never really seen a player in the San Antonio organization just not stay. Like, even the closest it got to was LaMarcus Aldridge last season, and him just kind of being at odds with what was going on, and he eventually and he decided to come back. So do you think that it's one of those things with San Antonio, is that we've never really seen it happen, so it's hard for us to believe that it actually could happen, especially with with Popovich? At one point he was considering retiring, but it was almost like however long Kawhi stays around, that's how long he's going to stay around. So do you think that's the breaking point and the kind of difficulty for people to actually think that he'll leave, is because we really haven't seen a Spur do it yet?
I think so. and it's definitely going to be hard for him to leave. Like the relationship he has with Popovich and the relationship Popovich has with every player that he's coached, whether it was the Admiral and David Robinson, the big fundamental and Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, all these guys that he's coached, it's kind of hard for them to leave. But I think it's to a point where Kawhi is at a different level. I keep saying that and reiterating. He's at a different level now. And it's crazy that because
what level is it? Just all around? Do you mean?
I think his mindset is changing. He doesn't want to be a role player anymore. I think he's buying into the hype of who he is, being the claw, being defensive player of the year. Now I want to evolve my game. I can't evolve my game with a team effort. I know it sounds so silly and probably more so mundane, but for a player to evolve as one, it's kind of hard to do that when it's a team mindset, a fundamental basketball with the Spurs. Because he came up in the same formula like every other player. We didn't know who Tony Parker or Ginobili was. Tim Duncan, I know Tim Duncan was highly sought after. David Robinson, those guys came up with Popovich, and he kind of molded them. Now you see a guy, I guess you could say he's ungrateful. Now he's wanting to leave. He want to be a bigger icon than what he is. But I think that he will be the first player that's only been a star for the 2-3 years that'll want to leave the Spurs. But I think it's going to be hard for him to leave because the relationship he has with Popovich. But I think it's just what KD did. He wants more. He wants to seek out more in his career.
That's interesting, the part you're talking about with the role player, because to me, I don't see Kawhi Leonard as a role player. I do see him as the centerpiece of San Antonio. Now,
he once was though. He once was a role
player.
Player.
Yeah, he once was, but I'm saying like the current Kawhi. I mean like the Kawhi last year who was like
1 year.
Right. Yeah, but I'm saying that we've said it multiple times. Last year, there was one team or just maybe one game that put a fear into Golden State, and it was game one when Kawhi had 25 up to that point. And even though I still feel as though Golden State wins that series, it put a serious scare into Golden State because of how well he was playing and the two-way threat that he is. So I definitely think he can grow into being that centerpiece of the organization, even though you said he used to be a role player, but now he's delved into more of being the focal point of that offense. But that's going to kind of be the deal breaker, the Supermax. And also, does he just want to, is he content taking less and being like, I do think that I'm worth more. And I mean, because the thing with Kawhi is he rarely talks. We don't hear much of Kawhi, and we don't know where his mindset's at. And his uncle has been in his corner a lot more recently, and kind of been guiding him through this process. So in terms of, let's say Kawhi does leave, like who do you see as a team that would be good for him in the next step of him growing overall?
I think it just depends on how he leaves.
Right.
He still has a contract through 2019. Then he can opt out that contract, or he can get traded this year when it starts. I think July free agency starts July 1st, and then I think June 24th is the draft or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Next Thursday, actually.
Next Thursday, yeah. So it just depends on how he leaves. If he stays and kind of rehabilitate himself.
Yeah.
And reestablish his greatness and be eligible for the big time contract, then maybe he stays. But if he doesn't want to wait to get the big contract and he opts to say, okay, I don't want to play here, trade me, so sort of similar to what Kyrie did, it just depends on who has the biggest time. I think the Lakers has the ability to do so because they have some young players that they can trade away and get Kawhi. I don't think the Celtics would do it. 76ers has a couple guys. They could trade Markelle Fultz and maybe another guy. Maybe you trade Ben Simmons away and add another point guard. It just depends on who they want to trade away.
I do think the Lakers and the Sixers are probably the top two threats of if he does leave.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how he leaves.
Right.
Now, if he stays the year, becomes eligible, and then he still opts to leave, then I think he can choose where he goes. And I also think it's a way who else chooses before him. So if LeBron chooses the Lakers, or LeBron says, "Hey, I'm coming to the Spurs," I don't think he's going. Well, wow, that's going to be hard because if he wants the big contract, LeBron comes over, they're going to have to get rid of it like Aldridge. Oh man, I don't. Okay, that's too much. That's too much.
So many possibilities.
Exactly. So if LeBron goes to the Lakers and Paul George goes to the Lakers, they get rid of a lot of people, and then after this year, he goes to the Lakers. Maybe. I don't know. It's so many, like you said, so many possibilities that variables that plays a role. It's like you're juggling. It's like, okay, or like hitting the lottery. Okay, this is what we're going to do. So I think it just depends on how he leaves. If he's traded or if he leaves after the year, he becomes eligible to get the big time contract. But I think the Lakers and the 76ers, like you said, will be more ideal for him, money-wise and trade-wise.
Yeah, definitely. And even though like what LeBron and Paul George do is going to be like pretty much at a premium in terms of like the interest, I do think the first domino to fall, which is going to kind of set the tempo for agency, is Kawhi. You know, what he does first is really going to kind of make people think about what are the other possibilities of LeBron and Paul George and their decisions as well. So it definitely is uncharted territory for San Antonio, and is going to be really impactful for their future. The Lakers are recently this I think yesterday sent out kind of a statement about they really wanted Lonzo and Kyle Kuzma to tone down the recent beef that they had. Lonzo put out a diss track about Kyle Kuzma, and it was I don't really know how to say it. I mean, the quality was good. It was personal. It said something about Kuzma not knowing who his father was and things like that, which are kind of too way too personal. And then Kuzma comes out with a diss track, I believe. But this upcoming offseason and how important it is for them, and especially with them being able to possibly get 2 free agents and just trying to reshape the future and the culture of this Lakers organization, this storied franchise, and with kind of a petty situation like this, with especially with Lonzo, like Magic Johnson was saying, this is going to be Lonzo's most important summer, and he wanted him to be in the weight room a lot more and get ready for this second season. So with all those implications and the current beef between Lonzo and Kuzma, even though they said they're going to keep things more civil now, what are your thoughts on it?
I think LA just brings trouble. The show brings trouble. And you just starting with when Magic Johnson and those guys were there, he had the big, reveal that he had a disease,
right?
Different things like that. And then you transition years back. You have Kobe Bryant going after with Shaquille O'Neal, and he had trouble with Rick Fox a little bit. They had some beef going on. And then you go up. You have Nick Young, Swaggy P, getting snitched on by a teammate, him cheating on his girlfriend Iggy Azalea.
Swaggy P cleared it up now. He said, "I used to, I used to get snitched on. Now I have a ring on." So he
I really thought that was interesting. I thought it was funny. And then now you have 2 rookie guys, not rookies anymore, coming out with diss track. Well, it's so funny I can't get it out relative.
Diss tracks.
He made a diss track relative.
That's crazy.
He made a diss track on his fellow teammates. I'd rather have that.
About your teammate. It's not like an opposing guy who you're going to see, in the playoffs. This is your teammate.
You see him every day. You have practice. Like, you probably have practice 2 times a day and, like, workouts. So you're just looking at him like, yo, I made a diss track on you. Do something. But it's kind of crazy. It just takes away. Both of those guys have a lot of improvement to do, especially Lonzo in his shooting. I think Kuzma said he couldn't shoot. I think that's a good. I think he needs to get on the call.
That's kind of accurate.
Instead of shooting shots on a diss track, shoot your shots on a basketball court where they got you for. You ain't accurate, man. You got to switch up. You got to find your shot. You have to. But just They have
He
to
kind of
revamp.
let himself open for that one. And
Yeah,
Lonzo had to know when I released that. He said he was probably thinking he's gonna say something about my shot,
yeah.
and he's justified.
Oh, most definitely. I think he knows that. I think he took. That's why he went to a booth,
Yeah,
put it on a beat. Like it's so funny because it's so juvenile. Your teammates. I'd rather you do this than fight, and but it's still taking it to another level and just understanding what kind of level you're on, playing with the Los Angeles Lakers and have the history that you have, and people want you to come back to come back to that level of success that you used to have. But I think it's juvenile. They have to get it together. Focus, especially Lonzo, because this is his sophomore season is going to be his biggest season yet. I don't care. Forget year one. We knew what we are going to get up from him year one. Year two, you have to exceed all expectations. No ifs, ands about it. You have to exceed expectations. Stop going to the booth. Get to the court.
yeah. I mean, it definitely is something that seems petty and juvenile. But with their upcoming offseason and how important it is, do you think it puts like a dark cloud over it for the time being? Because they're
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, I know. I mean, it's definitely not going to impact their free agent pursuit. But in terms of just the importance of this offseason, like how big of a deal do you think this? How important of a deal do you think the outcome of what they do in free agency will be for the next 5 years?
It will have an immediate and long-lasting impact. You have to drafting Lonzo Ball, in my opinion, was a bad idea. Now you're stuck with a bad idea. Now you have to revamp and reconstruct that bad idea and put people that are better than him to kind of overshadow that bad idea. I know a lot of people say Lonzo Ball has a lot of potential, but what you do this summer, trying to get LeBron James, trying to get Paul George, maybe get Kawhi next year, this will have an immediate and everlasting impact on who you are because you're young. Everybody knew you weren't going to be that great. You trade away two other younger guys, got a hurt guy, Isaiah Thomas, and got an old guy, Shannon Fry. So what you do this summer, pursuing LeBron, pursuing Paul, pursuing whoever you get in the draft, it will have an immediate impact, immediate and everlasting impact. They have to go in with a kill first, ask questions later mindset. To be honest, do whatever you have to do to get LeBron there. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that's going to be the biggest the biggest outcome for. I mean, the biggest factor for them is just how they can the free agents that they can draw. Because when you look at LA, do you really think that free agents like LeBron and Paul George see that as a luring place to go currently with this young core?
Yes, because I believe it's Dwayne Wade said it the best with LeBron choosing where he wants to go. I think it's more of a lifestyle. I think his son is going to be playing his high school
Sierra
team.
Canyon.
Yeah, in California. So that might, I don't know, you can toss that up. And then it came out with a story saying LeBron doesn't like Houston as a city. He doesn't want to live there. So they kind of, we don't know if that exiles there. I think they have potential. They have good potential in guys. Lonzo has potential. Kuzma has the potential. I really liked him. He came in. He did a lot of great things for the organization. They have a lot of potential. And you put two guys that are already maxed out, well, not even maxed out the potential, but already are at a level where all you need is more supporting cast and it'll be successful, then it's a working situation. LeBron Paul goes to 76 is a working situation. So those young guys are hungry and they have potential. All you need is someone to tap that, potential. So I think that's the best idea for LeBron and Paul George going to the Lakers because they have enough supporting cast coming off the bench and guys who can shoot the three pretty good.
So you're already predicting that they're going to go to the Lakers?
I think so. I think LeBron likes the Lakers. I think LeBron likes Magic, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in terms of just LeBron's, I didn't even expect to be talking about where LeBron's going to go, but we went there. In terms of LeBron's like short-term and long-term options, short-term, you have a young core.
Yeah.
with a lot of talent, a lot of promise. We saw last season they had significant promise. It's just that they didn't have a bona fide star yet. And then in terms of LeBron wanting to be a business mogul, who better to learn from than Magic Johnson? Exactly. To be the first, billionaire athlete and to have that that pedigree. To me, it definitely points to that. I mean, he has his Hollywood production business there. Just a lot of connections there. But the last thing with this, in terms of all of the Laker greats, Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe, Shaq. Do you think that even Jerry West? Do you think there's a sense of being uncomfortable having to be in that spotlight and I mean, LeBron's legacy is already secure, but just having to be in that shadow with all of those greats, do you think that may be something that's not as luring for LeBron?
No, I think you'll embrace that impact because you're looking at a guy, like you said, who solidified his greatness in top 5 of whoever stepped on the hardwood. That's given. I think now it's for him. He started with Cleveland, his hometown. Then he went to chase rings. Found out it's hard to chase rings, so he felt obligated to go back home to do it for home. Did that for home. Now he doesn't have any obligations. Now it's more a mindset of, okay, I want my kids to be in a great position. I want myself. I can still be in a place where I can win championships, but as well be outside of basketball, be a business mogul, give back to the community, do different things like that. So what better place to go where legends were made?
Yeah.
3-piece, double-piece guy, having multiple NBA championships. Why would I want to go there? That's that. I want to be top 10 greatest Laker. Like, I think it's a more so of him trying to accomplish everything he set out to be. If he goes to the Lakers, he's already top 10, to be honest.
Of Lakers all time.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to sit up. You can have DNPs for like 5 straight games. You're okay. You're okay.
He's top 10. He's top 10 Laker all time before he even plays, man. So I think he embraces it. I think he looks at it as
Jack Nicholson will sign off on that. He'll be like, I'm the president of this fan club. You're good. You're good.
Sidelines ready. Sidelines blazing. LeBron. But yeah, I think he embraces it. So many legends. I'm a legend, so might as well go to where legends are made and legends are born. Legends are laid to rest, so to speak. So I think, Lakers. I'm choosing Lakers for him. I'm gonna text him tonight, like, LeBron, go to the Lakers.
Look, no cold winters, no cold winters.
No winters at all. No cold winters.
So I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see just kind of how this important offseason will play out for the Lakers. The Toronto Raptors, a team you have said constantly, they need more. They hired Nick Nurse, their assistant coach, and he became the 9th head coach for the Raptors and spent the last 5 seasons as the assistant of their team. And before he got to Toronto, he had 6 seasons in the NBA G League as coaching the Rio Grande Valley Vipers and the Iowa Energy, and posted a 183 and 117 regular season record, and that ranks 2nd all time in NBA G League history. But in terms of what he can do for this team, they changed their offensive mindset and approach, and a lot of it was due to Nick Nurse. Yeah. He was kind of the generator of that, even though Dwayne Casey probably had one of his best coaching seasons. Nick Nurse was kind of the engine that kind of started to run the offensive new approach. So what do you think of the new hire and how it will go for Toronto?
I think it's a great hire because you get a guy who's been there for 5 years and the system, and he kind of implemented the system to the guys that he's been around for 5 years. Got them to a point where they were averaging 117 points a game. I know you said Dwayne Casey played a big part of that, but as an assistant coach, I think you're more direct with the players. You have a more deep chemistry with the players, so to speak. So you get a guy. I like that they hire inside instead of going outside, because you're still on a run. Dwayne Casey for the past 4 or 5 years, the man has printed himself as one of the best coaches, in my opinion. Because you take a young team, 2 guys to be specific, just 2 guys. Two guys, DeMar DeRozan,
Kyle Lowry.
You like kind of mold these guys and you get them to a point, going to the playoffs. You were number 1, you ended up, we already know the story. But I like the ability for the GMs and everybody to say, okay, we don't need to hire outside. Let's go get a guy that's been here. And he's successful. When I looked at his track record, I was like, this guy is the bomb, Wellington.
Yeah.
He's more. I know it's a G League, but taking a team to the championship 3 times, then having the highest playoff record than any coach in the G League, that's impressive.
Very successful resume.
Yeah. And I was like, he's good. He's been there 5 years. Oh, yeah, he's good. Good hire. I don't care if they go 30 and whatever. I still think it's a good hire. Because you got a guy who can still wants the same mindset. He's not going to change much. He's going to tweak a little more stuff, but he's already been there. He's already added what he wants to add. And you're not going to get a guy who's going to change the whole organization away and add and take away players that have already been there, have the chemistry with the big time players, DeMar DeRozan and Lowry. So I think it was a good hire. I really do.
Yeah.
For the first time, I think it was a good hire.
But in terms of Toronto, are we kind of at a point with Toronto where they're just going to be a middle of the pack team, and this is just a 50-win team that gets to the playoffs is really not good enough to get that far? Do you think that's kind of the state of where the Raptors are right now?
Sad but true.
Yeah.
You gotta add more. Like I said, they need more. But I think this is a good step of adding more with Nurse, and then you got to add more rotational players that can consistently hit the 3-point shot, and players off the bench. And now we have to get more from DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry when it matters the most. Those guys are hot, fast in their regular season, and when it counts the most in the playoffs, they're nowhere to be found. They don't show up in 4th and 3rd quarters, but they show up half of the 3rd quarter and then absent the rest in the 4th quarter. So those guys need to step up big time. You're the big time players on this team, so they need more. They definitely do, and I think they're going to be a team that plays well in the regular season and comes up short in the postseason. It's sad because they have so much potential. Yeah, especially DeMar DeRozan. I expected way more for him in every series, especially the Cavaliers series. I thought they were going to beast the Cavaliers because the Cavaliers didn't have enough. To be honest, they didn't match up well, but they had LeBron. That's all.
That's really all you need because that's why I still thought Cleveland would win. And it's gonna be tough for them to get past the hurdle of LeBron, and that was kind of the thing. It really didn't even matter that Cleveland was that deficient. It's LeBron was just superior in that series.
Yeah, he was. He showed why he was king. He was King James. I hate that name, but he showed why he was King James.
You hate King James. You hate that name.
Yeah, man. I guess it's because of the Bible. I guess I don't know. I don't know. No,
1611 had significance.
Yeah, I guess he's a great basketball player, though. I give him that. And no, he's a great.
I did not know you had an issue with the nickname King James.
I don't know. At first, I thought it was. I don't know. I thought it was too much. King James. I don't think he came up with that by himself. I think somebody gave him that nickname. Obviously. LeBron James. I'd rather just call him LeBron James. LBJ. I like LBJ.
What about Slim Reaper? Do you have a problem with Kevin Durant's former nickname?
Slim I like Reaper? The Tarantula.
Tarantula.
I think we called him the Spider for a long time. when he was playing with the Supersonics in early OKC, they called him the Spider.
Seattle needs a team back in the
I used to love the Seattle Supersonics, especially with Rashard Lewis. Oh my gosh, he was just. Him and Ray Allen was the Splash Brothers before it was Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And those guys used to shoot. He's a shooter for the Orlando Magics when they had those runs where they played the Lakers in the finals. He was splashing there.
Yeah.
We're getting off topic.
I know. Way off topic, but this happens. This is full scope. We're going in every direction. It's full scope.
I like that.
Transitioning to the NFL, David Johnson, he sat out the first day of a mini camp for Arizona, and he's entering the final year of his 4-year rookie contract. And 2 years ago, he showed that he can be one of the most dominant and versatile running backs in the league. But this season he got hurt the last 2 games, and he was an All-Pro and Pro Bowler in 2016 when he kind of became like just the centerpiece of what they do offensively. And now, Arizona's kind of in a position like risk and reward. Do we really want to give him this type of contract, or, should we not trust the fact that he can actually show the signs of staying healthy? So with the position that he's taking an aggressive approach in terms of his mindset in dealing with negotiations. What are your thoughts on the situation him and Arizona are in?
Whoa, big fella. Slow your horses. Be patient with the big time contract. Get your 4 years out the way, then reconstruct your contract in the next summer, in the summer. Yeah. Right now, you're just coming off an injury. We know what you did in 2016. You had a phenomenal year, ran over 1,200 yards, 800 from the ground, from passing from the ground. You did good. But your rookie season, you had 581 rushing yards. That's okay. Then 457 on the passing. That's decent. Then you went off, and then you got hurt. Now you have to be patient and wait it out. Do not take from your other teammates because you want the big contract. I understand. Most running backs don't get big contracts. Le'Veon Bell is one of the guys who has big contracts. Devontae Freeman has a decent big contract. But you have to wait. Those guys had to put in the work to get that contract. You're not ready for it. Nurse that injury first. Get back in the first 6-7 games. Then go to, okay, look, I'm producing. The injury's not doing anything against me. Now reconstruct my contract. Just wait. Be patient. Big fellow. You have to be patient. I think he's moving too fast. And now you're holding out because you want the big contract. You don't have the chemistry just yet with your new quarterback, with your new offensive line, with your new wide receivers.
Do you think it's one of those things where how well he played 2 years ago is affecting what he's thinking now, and he's like, well, you guys saw what I did when I'm at my peak. Why can't you believe that I can get to that point now? Do you think that's kind of the position that he's mentally at?
I think so. I think he knows his potential. Even when he was a rookie, he had a significant value in the offense, on the running side, on the ground, and in the air. I get that. And then the next year, you went off on both aspects, and then you get hurt. That kind of devalues you at a running back. The value of running backs has went down since LaDainian Thomas and Chris Johnson, guys who had big contracts, run over 2,000 yards. The value for running backs has went down. I get that he's at the point where, okay, I know my worth, and I won't play for a penny less than my worth. I understand that, but it's a time and place for everything. I understand this is a business. I think he does understand that it's business, so he's trying to push the envelope for the contract. I say just wait. I know you know your worth, but just wait until the rookie contract is over, or at least the first 5-6 games, and then see how your injuries feel, and see if you can progress the right way. Then you ask for the contract. But I think he's ahead of time. But I do understand. I think he understands it's a business, and he wants to get his business done before he even steps on the field. But I just.
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Pause.
Yeah, it was an awkward pause. But he's one of 25 running backs with more than 500 touches since 2015, and according to ESPN stats and info, he's got the third best bargain among them. So it'll definitely interesting to see if they can both come to an agreement of just figuring out what is best for both sides. The Minnesota Vikings this past offseason acquired Kirk Cousins, and the last 3 years for Minnesota, they've started the season with a new offense coordinator. So it's always been a stark change. And in Mike Zimmer's 5 years, Kirk Cousins will be the fourth quarterback that he's had. And Zimmer recently talked about kind of building a better communication with the offensive coordinator, John Filippo, and so he really feels confident. And even Adam Thielen, their wide receiver, was talking about how he really feels like it's been a seamless transition so far. Do you think they can take the next step with Kirk Cousins? And because we saw what they could do defensively last season, but with Case Keenum, it wasn't enough against Philadelphia in the NFC Championship, and they just came up a little short.
Yeah, I think so. The only thing I have a knock against Kirk is he throws a lot of interceptions. He takes a lot
Yeah.
of risk, but he's a guy who can sling it 40 times, 50 times a game and still be ready for next week. I think he has a great durability. He's never injured much. He's a guy who has good football IQ, but he's like a Brett Favre who takes risks. I like a guy who takes risks, but at the same time, I like a guy who's balanced, like a Tom. I hate to say Tom Brady. Tom Brady takes risks too. All quarterbacks, okay, let's put on the table. All quarterbacks take risks, but in a small increment of risk. But I think Kirk Cousins is a quarterback. They don't have to change much for him. I think you had Case Keenum, you had Sam Bradford, you had Teddy Bridgewater come in and play a few games. But I think he's a guy who can ease and transition well, and they can get back. They can continue the success of what they had last year, especially with the weapons he have around him with Stephon Diggs and Thielen, different. You have Dalvin Cook back. I'm excited to see him, see how
Yeah.
his injury is holding up. I had high hopes for him last year.
When
I'm
did he
really
get
big on
hurt?
Dalvin.
Did he get hurt after the second game?
I think it was the second game because I had him on my fantasy. He was killing. No, it was. I think it was the second or third game because I had him on my fantasy for like 2 weeks. He was killing for me. He gave me like 13 points a game, but then he got hurt. So I think in the running game is going to be back. That'll help Kirk too, but I think he don't have to do much because Kirk is a pretty good quarterback. The only thing knock against him is the 13 interceptions that he threw last year.
Yeah, and one of the things Adam Thielen was also talked about was with Dave Filippo is his base concepts kind of staying the same, just as Pat Sherman's, their former offensive coordinator, were pretty much similar and alike to his. I mean, how important is a concept staying the same with an offense? Like, how much of a premium would that be at in terms of a team that's getting their fourth quarterback in a 5-year tenure with Mike Zimmer? Well, Mike Zimmer.
You have to keep it basic.
Yeah.
Keep it basic, but have the playbook open enough to take risks. To be honest, I know I said don't take risks, but with the offensive coordinator, when you have a different quarterback, even if it's a fourth quarterback, like I said, Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, all these different type of guys come in through the different system. You have to take it slow. I know you think Kirk is the guy who can come in and transition well. I think so too, because you have to keep it basic. I think the head coach and the offensive coordinator has to be on the same level, the same frequency. I know Zimmerman is a more defensive minded guy. He loves defense, but he has to be on the same level as his offensive coordinator. Keep it basic. Don't do too much, but keep it basic. And I think they'll be fine because they've had success with the same system with different quarterbacks throughout it. So I think they'll be fine. But just keep it basic. Don't do too much.
Yeah, that'll definitely be an interesting change and just the importance of Kirk Cousins for them to take the next step as they were just on the cusp of Super Bowl, blown out by the Eagles and wasn't enough offensively. Our last topic for today. Look, we didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it's happening. The rematch with Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez is finally happening. And Oscar De La Hoya yesterday he was saying like it's 100% done, like it's not happening. And then his associate said, "Oh wait, we don't know, like it actually may happen. We got to call Gennady because he's in Russia right now for the World Cup as one of the sponsors." And then Gennady said, it's a deal, it's done. And his manager, I think Tom Loeffler, originally was having him scheduled to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and Gennady Golovkin was okay with that. But the deal is done. They're fighting September 15th in Las Vegas. And the first fight, it generated 1.3 million pay-per-view buys and a 27 million gate, the 30 biggest in boxing history. And so Golovkin will probably earn more than 40 million in that fight. And so with this fight and the unexpectedness of it after, Canelo was suspended for 6 months, what are your thoughts on it finally coming through and how the rematch will, just thoughts or early thoughts on the rematch?
I'm excited, man. Like you said, May 5th, we thought it was going to happen, and
Yeah.
it tested positive twice. I'm like, God, man, you really don't want to fight, do you? So now I think both guys are coming with a clear conscience and understand what's at stake. Stake. I don't know.
Wow.
I had to throw that in there, man.
That was subtle. That was subtle.
Per podcast, man. But no, I think it's interesting. The first one was what scored 118 to 110 in favor of Alvarez.
Yeah.
I think it really shocked a lot of people. Like it shocked me too. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then I think the judge, what's her name? Judge Adelaide Bird.
Yeah.
She scored at that, and I think she took a break from judging for a minute because of it. I don't know if she felt guilty or not, but I think now it's
she
0-0.
She has a tendency to do that. She has a tendency to do that. I've heard she's made some really just some decisions where people are like, wait, were we watching the same fight? Because we did not see that at all.
It's Vegas. She had a bet on it. No, I'm joking. But no, I'm excited for it, man. I want to see what these guys have been doing for this whole time off. They're working hard. What are they doing? I want to see how in shape they are. Is there going to be some animosity?
It's definitely it's definitely personal. It's definitely personal. Like Canelo, in terms of just how he feels like, Golovkin was saying, Canelo's not a clean fighter. We know this about his camp, and Canelo's, extremely offended about it. And I think De La Hoya was saying, Golovkin's a good fighter, but he's not a businessman because this fight is 100% done. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and then it turns out to being actually done. In terms of maybe the animosity and just the first fight, they both had a mutual respect for each other, but and they were fighting for supremacy in terms of the middleweight division. Yeah. How much do you see the animosity and the personal beef just building to make this even a bigger rematch?
Man, the friction pays. I mean, it brings more people in. I think, first of all, you have to have that friction in a boxing match to bring people to watch. And secondly, the first one shouldn't went the way it went for Alvarez. But now we have, it's round 2. Forget what happened the first time. It's a clean slate. It's 0-0. I think it's going to be a lot of, oh, God, man. It's going to be a lot. It's really going to be a lot. I'm super excited because when you put it as a topic, I was like, oh, yeah. I've been waiting for this. May 5th, it went down. Yeah. Now he can get his revenge, man, because Alvarez should never won that match.
Yeah, I really do think Golovkin won.
Yeah, I think so, too.
And even though, like Canelo, he responded kind of back in the 6th, 8th round, but how Golovkin kind of just, I think kind of maybe just put it away in the 8th to 10th round.
Yeah.
I mean, not in a way just like where it's just like, oh, it's just a seismic advantage for Golovkin, but I mean in the way he was kind of it seemed like he had the upper hand in the fight overall. That to me really seemed like the outcome for it. So would you give Golovkin the edge in this one, and that Golovkin is going to have the mindset of look, I really want to show once and for all, I am the better fighter.
I think so. I have to, just because of the previous fight. And I think he fights better when he's in the 8th and 9th round. I've seen that in previous fights, especially the last fight. Like he comes on the 8th and 9th round, filling him out first, of course, the first 3 rounds, and just letting his endurance and stamina outbeat the guy. I'll have to give it to Golovkin. He's a good fighter, man. And he was robbed last match, so I think he'll come with that chip on his shoulder like he did the first time, and it'll be a good match. Expect 8th and 9th round to be more significance for him. I think he just comes out with that dog in him, and he's tenacious on that side. I think just specifically the 8th and 9th round. I may be wrong.
Yeah. And we talk about even in basketball, we talk about certain players, and just Kevin Durant was talking about in Game 3 with Lee Jenkins in an article that he did, he talking about how he loves Game 3s when they're up 2-0, and that he feels like he can smell blood and take advantage. Do you think with boxers it can be the same thing? When they feel like when it gets to the 8th and 9th round, Golovkin has had success in, that he just wants to he can kind of smell blood and that he really wants to put it away. Do you think that can also be the mindset for him?
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. Because like I said, everybody trains differently, and right. Every guy, of course, has different the stamina and endurance. And Golovkin's endurance is pretty darn good, man. I don't know what he does, but it's pretty darn good. So the first 4 rounds, you're filling each other out, and then fifth, sixth, seventh, that's where it
The
gets
fireworks
in.
can
You
go off.
already know what the guy his tendencies is. Okay, how can we counteract that? And in the eighth and ninth round, Golovkin puts that into fruition, and he's like, okay, it's over. It's time. It's time to win it. Win it. If he doesn't knock you out eighth and ninth round, he's gonna wear you down. So the 10th, 11th round, if it goes that round, he's gonna tire you out.
Yeah.
So I think, to answer the question, yes, he definitely does think that he smelled the blood in the water or in the ring on the or whatever. So he's the type of guy. He's smart. I think his corner is very smart. We're talking to him on the side, telling him what to do and not to do, man. But he's a smart boxer.
Yeah.
He's a smart boxer. So expect that chip to be on his shoulder.
Yeah, and this is it. Almost is like this boxing needed a big fight again, because look, Terrence Crawford, Vasyl Lomachenko, they've been phenomenal and in their past fights, and but we're still waiting for kind of that like mega fight to happen again. I think like this reaches that. Last question overall for this topic, in terms of, I don't know if you've seen Vasyl Lomachenko, but in terms of Vasyl Lomachenko, Terrence Crawford, Gennady, Canelo, like who is the clear cut, like, if you had to give an edge just to the guy in boxing right now, you feel like he's the most superior fighter. Like who would you give that edge to?
Man, it's hard. To be honest, it's really hard. I can't. Normally, I have a guy in mind, but now, do
you think it's kind of just it's in that middle ground? A fighter really hasn't separated him. Yeah.
Yeah, because normally we have in each one. Well, heavyweight, we already know who's the guys. But in every like welterweight, lightweight, middleweight, there's no clear-cut guy who stands out the most. Normally it does. We always have a guy that's on top. Okay, this guy, we have Money Mayweather, we have Sugar Shane Mosley, or whatever. The guy who stands out the most. It's so on a level playing field. So it's kind of hard for me to say, to be honest. And I don't want to give a half-put answer just to say something, but I'm just gonna say, man, I think it's a tie between all of them, to be honest, because no one has stepped up and kind of, led away from the pack of boxers, to be honest.
Well,
in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely should be an exciting rematch. The billing of it. Yeah, I mean, you can already feel it.
Get ready to rumble.
Yeah, Michael Buffer. I mean, it definitely, and look, for Michael Buffer, he has to do that until as long as he can do that. I mean, when he stops, like, somebody is going to have, a tough act to follow.
His brother's not too bad. His brother goes to UFC. Yeah, his brother's pretty good too.
Yeah, definitely. But it definitely should be an exciting fight for boxing in a few months. Well, that wraps it up for today. I'm your host, Lonzo Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. This has been Full Scope. See you later.
Soto.